skittering in the dark, blowing the largest amount of heat you'll probably see just about any creature realistically be able to produce. I'm talking like dragon levels danger in this thing. The Remorhaz is a giant, enormous centipede-like creature, ironically not part of the vermin species at all, that roams around the cold winterlands, whether it be glaciers or they just simply digging through the dirt. But it primarily lives in glaciers, tunneling, digging, and pretty much doing what ants do on a regular basis, but on the scale of a 25-foot long centipede creature. The Remorhaz itself primarily hunts to pretty much eats prey whole. And as opposed to many things that live in cold environments, this thing would be considered the bane of cold environments. It cooks and heats every bit of it, even so far as its body itself emanates this huge amount of heat, turning even its own plating on its body into bright red sources of fire that happens. Even merely accidentally touching this thing, it could generate enough heat to be lethal. And so it shall be, considering it lives pretty much in the area where you would find most frost giants hanging around, so that wouldn't be surprising. Large tribes of orcs running around. And this thing is a hunter of those that are everywhere. And contrary to it being pretty much a giant insect, it is fairly intelligent. And, well, mostly just comparatively to most animals. It's not the brightest in the world, but it is smart enough to be able to communicate if said. Its primary focus of damage and, overall overwhelmingly danger is its literal ability called heat. Where as it enrages and grows and picks up strong emotions, it produces enough damage to cook yourself like to the next neighbor over. Dealing 8d6 points of damage is crazy, even for something at CR7. That's gonna cook a lot of people at that CR to go and see, which just leads to that. I mean, at the very least, it's only for contact with your physical touch, unarmed attacks, natural attacks, skin touch stuff. But it is hot enough that a lot of metal weapons that are, well, I mean, yeah, I guess magic would involve it. You do receive saves to prevent itself from being melted, but even then, that means unattended weapons and fleshy bits get melted like crazy hot. As opposed to that, it lives up to its subterranean name, owning such abilities, standard for it. Got its dark vision, low light vision, tremor sense, pretty much all the subterranean features you can go for. It for CR, well, it is CR7. Its AC is pretty, well, lackluster, I guess to be accurate, but huge sized creatures aren't great. It is ironically immune to both fire and cold, which puts it on a level of, oh no, the adventurers aren't going to be happy with finding that out. At the very least, it doesn't necessarily travel the fastest when it burrows, but leaving said holes behind are generally left in an almost smooth, glass-like shape from just the sheer heat and refreezing of it, creating its own dangerous mazes in and of itself. And let me tell you, you run into one of these in a frozen tundra and you think you're just going to deal with every other process to go for, you got another thing coming. As it comes, it seemingly has a taste for orcs, but that's neither here nor there, considering orcs tend to pick fights with everything that lives in their territory. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Orcs are not known to just leave things be. The bigger the hunt, the better the day that comes out of it. And if you're really unfortunate, you may run into it, and it may have some friends with some frost giants. It doesn't have its own ability to speak, but its relative, I guess, high intelligence, you can say. It's not really that grand, even from most magical beasts' sake. But its higher intelligence from normal animal, it does have a level of communication with giants. In which case, the giants will make friends, then send them off to pretty much be assassins for other frost giants. or other tribes in the area. And considering it is both effectively a heat source and immune to cold, it is very powerful in its own home environment. As for Gloria, it's pretty much hiding at every frosty home you can go for. You can find it anywhere from even the farthest northern reaches of Avista. You can find it from the crown of the world. You can find it in the Algrid Waste. Even so far as the Mammoth Lords hang around with them. And they even so commonly a menace to the problem, they even earned the nickname Ghost Worms, as orcs like to refer to them as. Even in the land of the Lindworms, which, is dragon territory essentially, they're strong enough, they're facing most dragons fair to fair. A common place to hang out is over in the living elements, in the living elementals of the monolith glaciers, and running across the iceworm hills. Even going so far as hanging out with frost worms on top of that, you know this thing is a monster to have to deal with. The most common people to hunt to them are the Varkees, which pretty much just the Eskimos of the northern half of the continent. And who would have guessed the icebound creatures being hunted by the icebound people? If you're really unlucky, you can find them around the Varizia areas, whether it be the Kodar Mountains, the Foggy Peaks of Talador Gidal. They're found lots of places. And even for the sake of players, it's not exactly the toughest of toughest creatures, but it is enough of a threat for CR7s. A party is not going to be happy to find out their weapons got fried, their armor gets toasted, all kinds of manner of problems can involve itself. It's weirdly not actually able to breathe fire, which is strange considering how much heat it can produce. But beyond that, once it starts flying into its animalistic rage states, you got a creature that'll cook you like no tomorrow and melt through every piece of your equipment. Whether you like it or not, this thing is going to be a threat and works fairly well as a nice thump, thump, thump with travel. Because you just picture that thing traveling and you hear as you see geysers of water as it traverses the beamline for you. Or even worse, you travel into an ice cage and it comes flying from the ceiling down. It's got quite a bit of hunting potential in the icy territories. And, well, ironically, as much as it is useful, you don't usually run into a lot of ice territories. The one major themed ice one doesn't even really linger you into an area that worries about them, but if you do happen to run across it, between this and the frost worms, you might have a challenge to go and pick between which one you'd want to get eaten by first. And on top of that, it's got the lovely noise of skittering, because that's always fun to hear. Skittering bug noises as the thing comes crawling around whatever cave you're hiding in. But needless to say, this thing will crash in, attack you, and walk off without even a sweat of the day.